Esteemed audience, here at the Great Debaters Contest, we do what we have to do in order to do what we want.
And what we want is to debate in the most exemplary way.
What better way to do it than on Kenya's #1 debating platform? I am your host, Chris Boru.
And I am Esperanza Kapanga. The motion on the table today is illiteracy is the leading cause of poverty in Africa.
Proposing the motion on illiteracy, we have Kagumo Boys High School.
And opposing this motion, we have Murang'a High School. Proposer number 1, you have 3 minutes.
A mountain does not cease to become a mountain just because there are several other hills surrounding it. Ryan Charles from the Kagumo High School is here to tell you the truth of the matter. I know that within some seconds, my fellow opponents will come here and try to tell us that a masculine man is actually a lady just because he has long hair. Illiteracy, according to the UNESCO definition, it is the lack of the ability to understand, interpret, create, communicate, and compute using printed and written materials associated with varying contents. But poverty, according to the Oxford Dictionary 9th edition, is the lack of enough resources to satisfy one's basic needs. But when you look at the definition according to the United Nations, it means poverty is not just the lack of income and resources. It extends to the lack of basic ones, e.g. education, security, and healthcare services. So when you talk about illiteracy as the major cause of poverty, it simply means the lack of SDG number 4 leading to the lack of SDG number 1. Let's take an example of Ethiopia. Ethiopia is ranked number 8 among the most illiterate countries in Africa with 39% level of literacy. But come to think of it, when we look at Ethiopia among the most poor countries, it is ranked number 7, as documented by the United States Department. So what are we trying to say? That when a person is illiterate, that actually means that this person is actually going to be poor. It means that this guy is actually going to contribute to the poverty of his country in general. There are various forms of illiteracy. There is functional illiteracy, political illiteracy, cultural illiteracy, and moral illiteracy. Functional illiteracy, this simply means the illiteracy whereby you have the education but you cannot apply it. For example, I have gone to school, okay, I have earned the grades of an engineer, but when it comes to applying this knowledge in the field of engineering, then it is not possible. Cultural illiteracy, this is the type of illiteracy whereby we dwell too much on our cultures that are not helping us as Africa. So it is high time we realize that illiteracy is actually the main cause of poverty. And once again, the mountain still stands. Thank you.
Mr. Proposer, you have 3 minutes to present your case.
Patrick Loch Otieno, PLO Lumumba, once said in a meeting of Pan-Africanism that the battler will always remain the battler of the mind. And if your mind is conquered, then you will be wiped off from the face of this earth. Muondo Anthony from the renowned school, Murang'a High School, opposing the motion that states illiteracy is the leading cause of poverty in Africa. As human beings, we always face challenges in life. So if you take statistics, let's say, for example, a statistics that was a joint report by the World Bank and the UNICEF that was done on October 4th, 2016. It stated that almost half of the children that are living in Africa, that is the sub-Saharan countries of Africa, they are living in extreme poverty. So if you take an example like that, you do find that actually if you look at the sub-Saharan countries, you do find out that majorly we do not have illiteracy as the leading cause of poverty. So what is illiteracy? Illiteracy, as explained in the 9th edition of the Oxford Advanced Learners, is the fact of knowing little about a particular subject area, or simply it means the inability to read and write. If you take poverty, poverty means the state of being, having insufficient amounts. To start off my points, I will go by to war. So, what is war? This is where you have two countries which are in conflict or at loggerheads with each other. So, if you look at the sub-Saharan countries, these are the major countries in Africa which are still developing. So, if you take an example of South Sudan, which is actually the youngest nation in Africa, or if you take Somalia, you'll find out that war is actually a leading cause of poverty around that, in that nation. If you look at the GDP of South Sudan, it states that, okay, I've sourced my information from the Wikipedia, so you'll find out that in South Sudan, the GDP is at 9.015 billion US dollars. So if you look at the margin of how the GDP rates, you'll find out that the margin has been dropping year after year. So what does this imply? It implies that actually poverty has, it implies that war has a great effect on influencing poverty in a nation. If you also consider the literacy levels in countries like, in the top 10 countries, you'll find out that South Sudan ranks the first with 27%, followed by Afghanistan, followed by Burkina Faso in that order. So what is the leading cause there? It is poverty. And so with that, what is the leading cause of poverty in those countries? It is war. So with that, I would like to rest my case. Thank you.
Proposer, you have 3 minutes for.
Well, I just heard it, that illiteracy is not the leading cause of poverty. And guess what I heard? Wars. Statistic example, South Sudan. Illiteracy rate, or rather the literacy rate in South Sudan is 31.9%, according to the UNESCO Institute of Studies, a report released on June 2016. We need to ask ourselves a few questions. For one, because I'm sure my opponents will come and try to tell us, oh, illiteracy is not the leading cause, rather it is one of the causes. And other causes are corruption, wars and conflict, poor governance. But let's question ourselves. You started by telling us that battles will forever be fought, but battles that matter are those of the mind. Now let's ask ourselves, for you to win a battle of the mind, where do you need to equip yourself? And what do you need to do in order to equip yourself? You know what? Gain education. A report by the Controller of Budget for the last 6 years has reported that education is has the second highest allocation of budgetary allocations in our country. Furthermore, in Africa, it ranks third. That is after security. Let's question ourselves. Are the policymakers in our countries wrong when they allocate so much money to education? Let's ask ourselves other questions. Why is it that wars and conflicts are not part of the SDGs, as is quality education and no poverty and zero hunger? It's time we did a serious cross-examination of ourselves, because what they're trying to tell us is that wars and conflicts are the leading cause of poverty. But let's ask ourselves one question. Why is there that in the countries where there is war, they have the lowest literacy levels? You talked of South Sudan. I'd like to add you to another one, Somalia. It's time we asked ourselves these questions. It's because of something known as political illiteracy, whereby the citizenry is not equipped with enough knowledge which can help the citizenry give the government checks and balances. The citizenry does not just understand how the government works. My opponents will come here and try to tell us that, oh, it's not illiteracy, it is corruption, it is poverty. But guess what? A survey by Buzz Kenya, released last year on 10th of September, revealed that political literacy in the continent stands at 52.8%, the lowest in all the other continents around the world. And Africa is one of the lowest, is one of the poorest continents. Does it make sense? If we cannot be able to put our leaders into account, then they are always going to mislead us. If we are not literate enough to know what the Constitution has provided, we'll forever continue changing constitutions. That's why today there is a push to change the Constitution. But let's remember one thing. Illiteracy is the main cause. A mountain surrounded by hills still remains a mountain. And still water stinks, but illiteracy, which causes poverty, stinks most.
Opposer, you have 3 minutes for cross-examination.
Listen to me as I try to re-educate my fellow learned men here who are ill-advised. They are ill-advised on this topic, this motion that we have here. Really, we are not saying that wars are the leading cause of poverty. We are saying that it is a cause, just as illiteracy is a cause of poverty, but it's not the leading cause. My post here is not to say that college degrees are worthless or can't be beneficial, just that they are not the defining factors. They are not the defining factors of our success. For instance, in Africa, we are well aware of the poor governance, the corruption, and the centralization of power that have brought a lot of poverty to our land. Centralization of power, it leads to the poor governance. As many countries, political power is disproportionately centralized. Did you know that this only benefits 18% of the total population? What about the rest 82? How sure are you that the other 82 is the one that is not, that is being faced by the major problems of poverty? Listen, please listen to me, because I am hurt because of the thinking of many of you. You have been ill-advised. The current case in Kenya, we are well aware of the corruption, the NYS scandal. Now tell me, the money that they stole, it was to benefit an individual, a common mwananchi somewhere, but because the funds do not get to them, what proof do you have that that person, that individual, will not be poor? We are not saying that illiteracy is not a cause of poverty. It is, but it is not the leading cause. Let us go to the sub-Saharan. In 2012, we have more than 501 million people. Of the population of the sub-Saharan Africa, they lived under $1.90 a day, or even less, a principal factor causing widespread hunger in the country, within the region. This number compares to 233 million estimated undernourished people. What is my point? That even factors such as environmental degradation, they are a major source of poverty. We find that no matter how educated you are, many of us take agriculture here, but with the knowledge we have in agriculture, it is not enough to help us develop the environmentally the degraded area. So please, I'd like you to reason with me. Patrick Loch Otieno Lumumba, he said it's the barrel of the mind. Let me tell you one thing, that literate doctors, they are striking like jobless people out here, and you are all witnesses to that. We must eradicate ignorance and illiteracy from our nation and continent to the nearest minimum for us to at least our national development. Not this. It is the barrel of the mind. No matter how literate you are, but you are not fit within your mind, and you are not able to point out facts as they are, we will always be poor. And that is the mere fact.
The proposers have been asked to give statistics to back the statement that illiteracy is actually the leading cause of poverty in Africa. The opposers, on the other hand, have been asked, if illiteracy is not the leading cause, then what is the leading cause of poverty in Africa? Proposer number 3, you have 3 minutes to answer the question.
It's my first time debating on this platform. And I don't want to start with lies. Because what my opponents are telling me is to tell lies. To my good question that you have asked, our statistics 31.9%, lowest literacy levels, Southern Sudan. UNESCO Institute of Statistics, June 2013. You can check that up with your iPad or laptop or whatever. Let us look at Southern Sudan's rating in terms of poverty. It is the third poorest country in Africa. Let me give you my evidence, because you are asking for it. Southern Sudan, third poorest country. Africa Check magazine, June 2017. You are talking about education as the only form of illiteracy. I want to shed some light. Before that, I'm Karega wa Cairo from the Kagumo High School. And I want to talk about financial illiteracy. 38% of Africans do not have access to a formal financial institutions. This is according to the World Global Bank Financial Inclusion Index dated May 2016. That means Africans, they don't have the know-how on how to invest, leading to poverty. Those are statistics, they don't lie. Let's talk about technological illiteracy. Peter Williams, CEO of Deloitte Digital, says that technological advancement is a key to Africa's development. But guess what? Africa is, let me take Southern Sudan, the country with the highest illiteracy levels in Africa. According to a research done by Africa Today, in terms of technological advancement, guess what? You want to know? Southern Sudan is number 3. In terms of the lowest technological advancement, number 3. It has the highest illiteracy levels, and it is also poor. So, illiteracy causes poverty. Let's borrow a leaf from Cuba. The late Fidel Castro. I felt so sad when he died. When he came into office, you know his main agenda was what? Education. Even our founding father, Mzee Jomo Kenyatta, when he became president, he first focused on poverty, elevation, ignorance, and disease. Illiteracy. Because he knew that we have to focus on this. By the way, you talk about corruption, wars, and all that. Why are there more schools than anti-corruption institutions? Yeah, because we want these people to be educated. USA has more than 3,000 universities leading in technology and science. That is according to USA Today report 2016. That's why they are called a superpower. Let's face facts. I don't want to tell lies. I want to speak for the truth, because that is what will set us free and take us to the land we all want to be. Thank you.
Bullseye, you have 3 minutes to respond to your question.
I want to say this, that there is the most interesting thing. The worst thing you'll ever find in earth is the learned devil. The learned devil is the worst thing in the earth. Our ancestors are regretting today. They were told that Africa is not developing because of illiteracy. What did they do? They started schools and all that. You see, nowadays they are using techniques to steal for Kenyans, steal from Wananchi. Listen, corruption itself is the main thing. Someone asked for that. And I know you'll regret asking that question forever. Because of this, listen, we are learning today. Today, me, you, and all these people here, we are all learned. But there is one thing I want to tell you, that all of us after this, and I want to welcome you, because immediately after this, we are going to carry stones. I and you. Because you want to tell me that because you have got the information, the knowledge, you are not illiterate, that you are going to be rich. I want to assure you this, that Africans are not illiterate. And I want you to get this right, that there is education in Africa, universities and all that. And that is the main reason why, even after you learn as an engineer, Kenyans will still go for China's constructors. Main reason is because there is a mentality. And that's why somebody said that it is the battle of the mind. Someone said that Kenyans are not the best, Africans are not the best. You learn engineering course, after you are done, you cannot get a job because they are Chinese and they are found to be the best. They came and said that Africans, do you know what? I want to show you this. And my people, you will be surprised. Let me show you. You want to tell me that about school and all that? There is this. If you look at these innocent kids, just look at them. And below that, it's written that Africa has Africa has the large quantity of natural resources, including oil, diamonds, gold, iron, cobalt, uranium. But you know why Africa is still the most poorest continent, or one of the most poorest continents? Is because of this. Just look at this, and you'll tell me that. Do you know the main reason is because of this? That even after having the information with us, there is still the mentality that says, we are not the best. And that's why you see, P.O.L.O. Lumumba said that even you cook the fries in Kenya, we call them the French fries. Even though they were cooked in Gikomba or somewhere in Dodoma, somewhere in Tanzania. Do you know why? We tend to pretend and to behave that things from the outside are the best. Think about revitalization. That farmers grow most of the precious things in Kenya. But you know why they're the most poorest? Because we still prefer that tea from outside is the best. Brazil were here to investigate, and they found out that Kenyan farmers are the poorest. Reason? Corruption. Young people, you got to smile about this. You will remain the way you are, very poor because of ignorance. Keep reading your books. You will remain poor. Be wise.
Proposers, you have 1 minute to make a final statement.
Just look at you. What did I hear? If at all education is so useless, I dare you, take off your ties, go get civilian clothes, and from now on, go to the farm and dig. Now, illiteracy. Illiteracy reduces children's potential. I love my continent. I love my continent. America was built by Americans. And guess who will build Africa? Africa will be built by Africans. Africa will be built by Africans. It's only us who can liberate ourselves. You complain jobs are taken by Europeans, by foreigners, yet you're not ready to learn for you to take over the jobs. Where is this leading us? Illiteracy is the leading cause of poverty. I love my continent. I need to develop it. Nelson Mandela once said this: education is the only thing that can make us dine with kings. We want to dine with USA. We want to be recognized by the US as a superpower. Let's read Blossoms of Savannah, Kigogo, and the rest. I rest my case. Come join us and not let the debate stop. Come and let us make conversations of how we can move forward. Thank you.
I rather remove my time now and go to the farm rather than working in school for all those years. Then you join me later and we enjoy doing the same work. No problem. I am on up. I enjoy it, and I will be waiting for you. Keep reading. Find me there. I want to ask a very simple question. That suppose today we give all poor people effective skills training and compensatory education. Will total poverty fall to the ground? Someone answer me that. If today you are given compensatory education, skills and all that, will poverty fall down to the ground? Will it? The only thing that will happen, poverty will be redistributed. So it will still be there. Keep wearing uniform. You will join me there. Nothing will change. So I want just to assure you that not unless we fight the mind, we will never be rich. Tomorrow, NYS today, tomorrow, this one, you still lump sum of money. We remain poor. Just the way you look like, poor. And that is the thing. So work on that. Thank you. George Kamau, Murang'a High School, the great man of Caribbean. Thank you.
Kagumo High School, let me start with you. Rayan Charles, very passionate start, good definition. I think you, in my view, tie across with Anthony of Murang'a High School. Do not cross-examine Anthony when you start the debate. You know, just leave that to Alex, okay? Come and give your case as a team. So don't cross-examine at all. I think you gave the submissions that war could be a reason why, and I think they were trying to cross-examine that, but it was well rebutted by Alex. Kelvin, I think I should have mentioned you last, but you are good. You're such an amazing debater. Good cross-examination, very good examples. Well done. And even the ending as well was super, all right? So keep that spirit. Alex, good clarification. I think you came to clarify the motion to the people that, listen, we're not just saying that war is the leading cause, that we have others. And you gave the examples of knowledge is not enough and the likes. Fair enough for your team. I think that was a good plus because you understood your role. Karega, I think you're very passionate, and all your submissions had citations, and that was a plus because debate is purely facts on the table, and we should never forget that. And you're very passionate as well for your team. That was a good plus for your team. George, I think I wrote something. You are such a great public speaker, and I hope that you will use this in future. Never let it end here. What went through for you is the fact that you have the audience at hand. You were able to capture them and able to speak your submissions. Nonetheless, when you come and give examples at some point, I think my colleague here will ask what KDF is. You know, you want to define it because we here in the knowledge gap, we are going to ask whether this is the army or you're talking about or the likes. But it was a tough one, and we enjoyed the debate. We will wait for the results. All the best.
So this one was a close one, a very close one, because the difference is less than 0.5.
To be exact, 0.3%.
Murang'a High School, the judges awarded you 72.8%. Let's appreciate them. Kagumo High School, the judges saw it fit to award you 73.1%. Congratulations to both schools. You have put up a very spirited fight.
Thank you to all who made this possible. We have Blaze by Safaricom, Brand Kenya Board. Remember, the debate might be over, but the conversation still continues across our social media platforms. The hashtag is GDC for SDGs. Until next time, I have been your host, Chris Buru.
And I am Esperanza Kapanga. Catch you next time.